Hey everybody, we're going to go through week 7 within your vocabulary packet. So first we're going to start with this 3 strategies. The first one is an assertion. So a claim and an assertion are very, very similar. If you are making a claim, you need to support it with evidence, just like if you're going to assert that something is true, you need to support it with evidence. I think that the biggest difference for me is that if you are making an assertion, you are drawing a conclusion that maybe others have not drawn yet. And so you have to prove that what you are saying is factual. We will be sketching out assertions when we start our research project in a few weeks. So I like this assertion by Malcolm X. I'm for truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice, no matter who it's for or against. And anyway, so I think that that is certainly an assertion that he then proves in his speech. All right, so a parenthetical is something that is really important for you to keep in mind within your research in the next few weeks, because a parenthetical is essentially a qualifying phrase that explains or adds to a sentence. It's usually descriptive. It's usually after you've introduced the subject. So the example that I have here is a parenthetical phrase that describes who Jason is. A footnote is also very important in research, and I can guarantee you that you'll probably have at least one multiple choice question about footnotes on the AP Lang exam in the spring. And essentially the footnotes are there because the writer didn't have enough space or didn't have the time to really explain the reference that they just made. Sometimes footnotes are really helpful if you have a lot to cover and you are just going to get off track or on a tangent. And so the footnotes provide a lot of flexibility for writers. One writer who sort of uses and abuses footnotes is a guy named David Foster Wallace. He wrote and read a really amazing speech called This is Water, and there's a really good YouTube video about that speech. But anyway, in his books, I kid you not, his books can be like 1,000 pages long, and most of those pages are actually footnotes. So anyway, so that's what a footnote is. All right, so let's talk about tones. You had quite a few tones for this week. So the first tone is facetious. And if you are being facetious, then you are sort of being a little inappropriate with your humor regarding a serious issue. So sometimes people will be facetious if they are trying to break the ice or liven people up a little bit, but it's often misread. And so I don't usually suggest being facetious because sometimes it makes you look really immature because you are being humorous when something's actually really serious and everyone else is taking it seriously and you're not. So being facetious, it's not always negative, but I would sort of suggest that you tread lightly. All right, so then we have pompous. I was trying to think of famous people who are pompous, and Kanye was who I came up with. Usually pompous people are like just so irritating because they think that they are so important or above it all. And I think that Kanye is a really good representation of that. Despite the quality of music, you know, he publishes really good music, but at the same time, he's also very, he touts himself as being above other people and being better. Then you have whimsical, and I think that we see most evidence of things being whimsical around the holidays, and that's because we like to exaggerate or we like to make things magical or playful, and so these pictures I added here for you are sort of exaggerated things that we could see, like you could see legs, but you wouldn't usually see them hanging from a ceiling. And you can see snowmen, but they're not usually that tall in real life. So it's whimsical because they're playfully exaggerating or making them fanciful and fun. Then you have exasperated. If you are exasperated, it is because or people might find you exasperating because they are very annoyed with you or angry with you. I see a lot of parents who can feel exasperated with their children because they have asked their child to clean their room and they've asked them 2 or 3 times very calmly. The student or the child does not. And then the parent feels very exasperated because they're very angry or annoyed by their child. Incendiary is your next tone word, and if you are incendiary, you are irritating and agitating another person. The best example I have for this, and I know it's sort of cut off from the screen, but is Draco Malfoy from Harry Potter, because he agitates Harry quite a bit. I think there are quite a few movie characters, book characters who agitate other people on purpose just to get under their skin and to make their lives harder. So you can probably think of quite a few incendiary people as well, real life or not. The next tone is vexed. If you are vexed, you are really difficult to deal with. And so I think about little kids who can't really control their emotions that well. They can usually vex people quite quickly because you don't know what to do to make them feel better, or they won't stop crying even though it's only over like a cookie, or because you made them wear a certain shirt, things like that. So little kids are typically vexed. Indignant is the next word, and if you feel indignant, you feel very angry because something is unfair or unjust. Typically protesters feel indignant. They feel like something is wrong in our society, and so they take action for change or for an opposite thing to happen. All right, so now we are into terms, and there are 4 terms this week. The first term is plethora, and if you have a plethora, you have many options. So we have a plethora of cookies in front of us. Idiosyncrasy is when something is peculiar or distinctive and not going with the rest of the group or with the grain. So this example, these 3 faces, 2 of them match and the third one does not. Even though they all 3 have different backgrounds, they have distinctive features, right? So they all have the same eyes, the same face shape, but the third one is distinctive and idiosyncratic because it's smiling and crying, or frowning and crying. So this picture, I think, is a really good representation of what it means to broach something. Brooch could be a pin that you wear on your shirt, but in our class, it's also how you introduce a subject. As you know, audience is really important, and how you broach a subject should really depend on your audience. Is it going to be a really sensitive topic, and do you need to go into it very softly? Or is it a goofy topic, and so it doesn't really matter what your tone is? So how you broach a topic is really important based upon how you want to convince your audience, what you want to get them to think, feel, or do. And we're going to end with capitulate. If you capitulate, you are surrendering, you are yielding to. So you can see here that the people in this video game screenshot are yielding to the guy who just walked up. Typically in wars, people capitulate, or countries will capitulate to one another. So yeah, so that's week 7 vocab. Please let me know if this video is helpful, or if there are any terms that you would like me to clarify.